How are we doing, Kansas Jayhawks fans? This is your host, Nick Rondeau, bringing at you some Jayhawks Daily content. And we had a pretty big day the other day, Big 12 Media Day. Some would say the season has kicked off, It hasn't tipped off, it's kicked off. We'll use that analogy for now. But so Big 12 Media Day, we had a couple of talking points, a couple of interviews, had our big three of players, I would say tenure-wise and kind of spotlight-wise with Trey White, Flory, and Darren Peterson answering a lot of questions. Big Self, obviously. A couple of announcements from that, and we've seen a couple of weird things going on in college basketball recently. So, plus a player profile, I'm going to get one of those. But so jumping into it for the Big 12 kind of media day portion. What were the big takeaways? And I love hearing from, our players. I also love hearing from the media. I love hearing from, some great guys, Johnny Fanta, Rothstein. These guys they know what they're talking about, and they're very passionate because basketball is their sport. And, I love what Bill was saying about our team. Everyone's asking him questions, you have no one returning, you have no one coming back to this team. How's it going to look? That's the thing. Nobody knows what it's going to look like. Everyone's asking questions. The reason, Rothstein said the reason why Kansas is at 6 is because look at the 5 ahead of you. Everyone's got significant returning talent. Iowa State, Taman Lipsey. Arizona had Del Rosso. Houston, obviously, their big three with Uzan, Sharp, and Tugler. We have Flory. That's our biggest returning player is Flory, who averaged about 6 points a game. Like, nobody knows because we're all in on the Darren Peterson train. And I'm okay with it because, even Bill's also saying this team is fun to watch. It's fun to coach, apparently. He is excited to see kind of how this team will gel together. That they're so athletically gifted that defensively it should be fun. Offensively, it should be interesting to see, how these guys kind of coalesce. I find it very fascinating that a lot of people had almost the same takeaways, and it's everyone's going to put us at 6. That's fine. But then why are they all swarming us at Media Day? Yeah, because they know Darren Peterson's going to be going number 1, but, they're swarming him. Oh, hey, Darren, are you thinking about the draft? Are you going to beat DeBonce? I have a full season of college basketball ahead of me. I'm not thinking about inevitably going number 1 in the draft. So, that's what obviously they're going for talking points. They're going for big ones. But, they asked all the guys kind of how they felt about the team and, how they feel about kind of, their rankings and everything. And no one cares about a ranking, especially on the team. Nobody cares. And I just think that, a lot of big questions they kept asking, and like we've all been kind of wondering is who's going to be shooting? Who's going to be scoring the most? And, can you guys actually shoot 3-pointers? It's been kind of a knock against us the past couple of years. And, Trey White, everybody can shoot. Me, Darren, Jaden, Cole, Melvin. We've got El Marco, a bunch of shooters that can knock it down at a consistent rate. Plus the athleticism I'm excited. I'm excited too, Trey. It is crazy, and I understand it's a reasonable criticism to have that people think that this team is not going to be able to shoot. We are, for the most part, a bunch of career around 30% shooters, closer to that 30 number. So people are going to be wondering because the 3-ball has become very present in college basketball, obviously in NBA basketball, but we're going to see, how this team kind of shapes up. But there was also some other big news, and I'll be talking about Big 12 media all next week too. Come on, these are huge quotes we're getting from these guys. But I just wanted to jump out at some big ones, and we had another big one, and that would be the starting 5. Bill Self announced it. Cole Rosario is breaking his way into the starting 5. And is that a guaranteed lock that for the Green Bay game, Cole Rosario will be a starter? No, it's not a lock, but it is for tomorrow's game against Louisville. Louisville, the game on Friday, Cole Rosario will be starting, along with, as expected, Melvin Council, Darren Peterson, Trey White, and Flory Badunga. So Cole Rosario went from I'm about to go have my senior year of high school back in June to I'm the starting 3 on Kansas men's basketball Jayhawks. That's a pretty crazy 6 months. I can only imagine what that genuine kid is going through in his mind, but Bill said it best, like he always does. He's a Big 12 athlete. He is. He is physically, he's athletically, he's vertically, he's everything as a Big 12 athlete. Remember, like 45-inch vertical. Pretty crazy. But the real question is, and Bill said it, is he a scoring threat? Is he a Big 12 scoring asset right now? We're going to find out. I mean, we are going to find out. I'll be doing a breakdown tomorrow. Now I know the starting lineup for, that Louisville game. It'll be much easier to kind of match up the two starting fives potentially. Louisville's obviously not going to reveal their cards too well, but yes, we are, that is something to break down. And Cole Rosario, I think no one really thought this early in the season we'd be seeing it, but there were murmurs, and it's just because, he has been literally breaking through every ceiling. Rothstein and a couple of the other guys were at Kansas practice, obviously, because media days in Kansas City, so they spent a day in Lawrence, see how the practice is going. And besides the obvious, glazing of Darren Peterson, which is all valid, this guy's so pro-ready, this guy's so athletic, he's so gifted, they're like, another guy to watch out for this year is Cole Rosario. The guy is bouncy, he is built, and he is composed in a way that most reclassified individuals are not at that level. So that is one to keep out for, and this is from their mouths, not just from mine. You've been hearing me saying this for weeks. Yes, Cole Rosario is going to be a guy to watch out for, but take it from them, validity now. So we'll see how that kind of bounces. But I'm just excited that people are finally kind of buying in, because everyone is still saying it. Yeah, no, this team is a 6. They're universally viewed as 6. And I almost forgot one of the bigger points that I brought up from media is everyone says we're 6, and then when they ask Houston coach Kelvin Sampson, Kansas being 6, like, well, you guys have come into this league for 2 years and absolutely dominated, winning it back to back. Like, what is your recipe? Like, are you the new Kansas? And he was like, whoa, hold on now. Kansas is the bell cow of the Big 12. This league runs through Kansas, and when this league is only great when Kansas is great. So it was kind of multifaceted. Pulled out of context, people might see that and be like, wow, yeah, Kelvin Sampson even thinks we're going to be great. In the real world, he's saying Kansas was dominant for a long period of time in the Big 12. Like, that's just a fact. That's how it was the last 20 years. And beyond. But, in my lifetime. But still, Kelvin Sampson is saying the league is at its best. It's at its peak when Kansas is similar to us, which they are, is kind of what he's alluding to. But also, he's saying by no means are we Kansas basketball. We've been doing this for a couple of years. They're amazing. They're doing a great job at it, so never going to take away from that. But, I just thought that was a very interesting quote, and I know everyone of here is going to see some variation of that and think, wow, he thinks we're the best team in the Big 12. Like, no, it's a little loaded, but still, But going back to it, yes, Cole Rosario breaking the starting 5. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. I think it's great for this Louisville game. And I just think no matter what, because you need the young guys. You got to see how the young guys are playing. I'd actually like to see kind of Hello Marco as bounce back. I'd like to see a lot of Tiller. I don't want to get too much into it. That's about tomorrow. But, I'm just excited that Bill kind of said starting 5 for now and moving forward. So we'll see what that means for game 1 with you, Doug Gottlieb, and Green Bay. Next up, we're going to continue that player profile. We're going to continue, and the guy who committed second in our transfer list, so we're going reverse chronologically, would be Trey White. And him and Jaden Dawson were off by a day, so you'll see Jaden Dawson soon. But we're starting with Trey White, and he's getting a lot of love. And I don't think as much love as I don't think he's getting enough, but he's the only transfer that everyone knows. Jaden Dawson, small school. Melvin Council, small school. Trey White, 3 straight big schools. It kind of has built that profile enough in a starter for him. So we'll run through it again. Yes, senior, tall, Swiss Army knife guard forward. He could be a guard on a small team, on a big team, but he's our power forward. He's our 4, and he's about 6'6", 6'7", 6'7", I'd say. I'd give him that. But yes, his stops along the way. He's originally from Dallas, but stops along the way. USC, then Louisville, then Illinois, and that Illinois team. They were competitive. They were a very good Illinois team. I'm not meaning his Louisville stint. They were terrible at that time. Pat Kelsey hadn't arrived, and he got a lot of minutes. He got a lot, but it was a lot of somewhat unhelpful minutes, I would say. Like, yes, he learned how to play on a really bad team, but you could maybe see the effort level. Like, that's where he's got his career high. His career high is 29 points. sophomore year, with Louisville. I think every stop along the way and what every coach has said, specifically with Bill Self, is he's incredibly coachable. There's a reason why he's going stop to stop. He is learning so much as he goes along the way. He's learning all different systems. He's learning all different, kind of tips and tricks and advice. And if you're not listening to that, then there's no reason for you to go each year to a new school AJ Store. I mean, I didn't say that. Yeah, no, yeah, I'm sorry. You need to be coached along the way. AJ Store was not listening to, I think, anything Bill Self said. He's been in a new coach, a new team every single year dating back to pre-high school. I'm sorry, you need to be able to be coached. So AJ Store didn't work out that way. He was, he just didn't pan out. Trey White, I think will, and he was ranked, like the 77th transfer that happened. If top 77, you think there are 76 transfers that are going to have more of an impact than Trey White this year. Receipt noted. I just think Trey White's going to be an excellent player for this team. He's exactly the stretch four that we need. He's played so many different roles. And I think that's what another great thing is, where he's coming in here, he's the clear cut, starting four, but a crucial wing for us. At each stop, Louisville, he played a lot of guard. Illinois, he played a decent amount of guard. He played a lot of wing, but he also played big man. USC, he was so young, so fresh. He thought he was just going to be, a pure, wing player. So I just think, at all of these stops, it has led to this point at Kansas that is so beneficial for him and this team, that he's going to learn, what is my role? I'm going to be a slasher. I'm going to be a rebounder, and we need you to be a rebounder. He had a stretch, last year for Illinois where he was getting, 9 to 14 rebounds through 10, 15 games. I mean, that's the kind of guy we need. We need Flory to have some help, to get a lot of rebounds, get aggressive, and I think he's going to have no problem with that. But we're also going to need a little bit of that shooting. He shot about 33% from three last year, 50% from the floor. 10.5 points. I think that's going to be the kind of Trey White that we need. Is going to be an efficient shooter that will pop out when Darren Peterson, Melvin Council drive, a good screener, but also help Flory on the boards, be physical, because we may be athletic, but we cannot get out physical by a lot of teams, and that is potentially what is ahead of us. We're smaller, we're maybe not as good at shooting. We got to get rebounds. We got to fight for everything, and Trey White is a perfect person to add to this team. I like how Bill Self went this way for the transfer portal this year. Get the tenured guys, maybe not the 1 to 2 year guys, maybe get the 1 year guys who have a lot of experience, but also will have a clear-cut role, and that role is not just going to be 3-point specialist. I don't see Jaden Dawson as that. He's going to be a good shooter. He's going to be involved in the offensive system. He's not just going to be like, oh, you're our clutch player like AJ Store. You're going to be a crucial role, clear-cut for us that we need to see play through the whole year. So I'm excited for Trey White in that aspect. And last up, we kind of got to talk about our hot topic. And it's been swirling around everywhere, and it's G League recruiting. And yes, the G League is the AAA version, the affiliate league, you would say, of the NBA. I'm assuming everyone knows that. But doesn't that mean they're one step from being a professional? More than just, college is just one step to being professional. Now, Louisville has landed a multi-year G League player. London Johnson, a 6'3" guard, committed to Louisville. He's the first G League player, one of the first G League players to commit to a college program. The other one went to Santa Clara, so less kind of buzz and everything around it. Louisville, that's a big program. People are wondering, whoa, what's going on? Tom Izzo's saying, I love my job, but I don't respect my profession. Bill Self is saying, I don't want to talk about it too much because, one, we're not supposed to talk about recruiting that much, and, two, who knows, maybe we could be doing it one day. I'm not going to put anything, as long as it's legal, take advantage of it, but it definitely has got people a lot of, rubbed the wrong way. He played for the Maine Red Claws and the Cleveland Charge last year. These are direct affiliates to professional teams. That means he could be having connection to professional staffers, everything like that. And more than that, he was the number 46 recruit in the 2026 class before he went there. And then he chose, and then he swaps back and goes to college. It's a very non-traditional route. It's a new develop. People can say, oh, the G League's no different from OTE. Yeah, okay. They do schooling there, but okay. It is a very unique case, and this is going to be a hotbed. This is going to be a hot topic. People are going to be going crazy. We're going to have the Tom Izzos of the world losing their brains. We're going to have the Louisvilles of the world saying, "You're just mad that you didn't do it first." So it's going to jump all over the place. We'll see how London Johnson plays in next year, but I think it's way beyond the player at that point. It is the, you know, it's the process, it's the procedure. Is this going to be happening for the foreseeable future? And yeah, and there's going to be regulation about it. But if probably going to give him about 2 years of college eligibility or something like that. I've been reading, but this is going to be very interesting to see how the college basketball landscape is in a couple of years in regards to this type of recruiting. Other type of traditional recruiting, the developmental league recruiting. Who knows? College basketball is changing, people, and we got to stay with it. And you've got me to keep my ears out there, my eyes, and everything to see where it's going so we don't get lost. So I appreciate you guys so much for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe. Say anything in the comments section. I love to try to react. I'll probably be answering some questions tomorrow, but I appreciate you guys so much for listening. And rock chalk, go Jayhawks.